Another year is drawing to a close, and that means it's time to look back at the games that made 2021 special. Free-to-play games are a great option for players on a budget, and there's a plenty of turn-based ones to choose from. Let's take a look at some noteworthy turn-based free-to-play PC games from the past year before we look ahead to 2022. But before starting, please remember to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and also consider supporting us through our member program and Patreon page. Lots of perks, mystery box and contests awaits you. Anyway, let's go!
Myst Legacy offers you a different way to play a massively multiplayer online game, with a pace that lets you focus on the adventure. Play your character as you would in a tabletop role-playing game, minding about the world, the rules, the monsters, and the challenges that the game proposes. Fight in a class.
A promising early access title, Myst Legacy is an indie MMO that's had some serious love put into it. Set in a well-illustrated fantasy world, where a magical mist obscures the true reality, it implements a turn-based combat system that not only puts the player and their NPC allies into the action, but allows them to invite other players as well. All the other hallmarks of the MMO gameplay are here, from character development to crafting and even base building.
Many cities, forests, swamps, mountains, and more. Discover the deep history of the inhabitants.
The real ambition of free-to-play turn-based Myst Legacy lies in its progression system. Players who have spent any time with the Elder Scrolls will recognize the system by which only the skills you use improve. Practice makes perfect.
To harvest resources, you'll have to raise your skills, craft your tools, find weapons to survive the danger, and even get clothes that will allow you to endure the weather.
If you are as curious as we are to see where Myst Legacy goes on its journey to full release, you can try it right now on Steam. Never let it be said that video games can't come up with anything new. Spirit of Europe Origins builds itself as a JRPG adaptation title. Surely that's an expected enough combination of words that you are at least a little curious, right? Spirit of Europe integrates combat inspired by Disciple 2, with a plot that's meant to be an allegory for the rise of Western civilization, from ancient Greece to the beginning of the Renaissance. It boasts historical characters from across that time span among its hundreds of NPCs and allows the player to possess and take control of any of them. To top it off, the game tasks the player with defeating personified vices and using their essence to summon heroes from past eras. If you don't mind handing over some data and want to see what Spirit of Europe is all about, the game, as well as the registration link, are on Steam.
Yesterday, on May 4th, the small meteorite fell in the Colorado desert.
Lies. Abject fabrications. 1 month ago, a NASA satellite discovered a small...
After thousands of years careening silently through space, the remnants of an alien fleet destroyed in a long ago war crashed to Earth. In Run Pressure, the player leads a squad of soldiers to recover these valuable pieces of alien technology, whatever the cost. It's a neat concept for a game, and the XCOM influences are obvious in both the story and the gameplay. Unlike XCOM though, where multiplayer is an add-on to the main game, tactical PvP combat is central to Run Pressure.
Before the local authorities or competitors could do the same. So, we won't be alone there. The primary goal is to be the first to reach the impact site.
Characters are highly customizable, and the game encourages the player to cause indiscriminate destruction if it means victory. maps are procedurally generated and include variants for weather condition and time of day. The free-to-play model makes the game accessible to anyone, but in this early stage of the game's life cycle there are players concerned about it becoming pay-to-win. The only way to decide for yourself is to give it a shot on Steam. Getting a Card Loser is in many ways the antithesis of the highly divisive Final Fantasy XV. It's a brightly colored indie pixel art JRPG visual novel about magical lesbians on a road trip to save the world. Indeed, Getting a Card Loser acknowledges its Final Fantasy heritage. The paid expansion to the free main game is called Battle on the Big Boardwalk, a clear reference to Gilgamesh's stem battle on the Big Bridge in Final Fantasy V. The active time battles will immediately be familiar to anyone who played a JRPG in the 90s, and the pop soundtrack gives the game a high-spirit modern vibe over its retro visual. Of course, any RPG worth its salt these days needs a little something extra in its progression system, and Getting a Card Loser allows you to change up gear sets on the fly to adapt your tactics. Victory in combat relies on having the right equipment and the right time, but also making sure your party works together as a team. The abilities are designed to play off one another. If you are as sold on the idea of an unapologetically queer RPG as I am, then Getting the Card Loser. It's easy for games to get lost in the sea of Hearthstone-like card games available. Echo of Combat sets itself apart from adding a positional aspect to its gameplay. The free-to-play turn-based card game from Mad Devices, requiring the player to not only decide when to play their best cards, but also where they need to go for best effect, adds a layer of depth that many online card games are missing. Additionally, this is one of the few games where unspent mana carries over into the next turn, increasing the overall power level of play. Echo of Combat is still new, and like any head-to-head multiplayer game, will live or die by its player base. Like all the games on this list, it's free to play, so there is no drawback to trying it. Earth of Enya casts the player as a campfire spirit tasked with guiding a band of adventurers on their journey. The controls are simple, but the combat can require some real strategy to come out on top. Every action is performed with a simple point and click, letting the player focus on their game plan without having to worry about hotkeys or quick items. The game started as a student project at the University of California, Santa Cruz, and it's clear that the creator went far beyond just what they needed for a grade. With lovely visuals, character-driven storytelling, and rampant positivity in the face of adversity, Earth of Enya marks Team Bappy as a developer to watch. It's definitely worth a look. Chances are you've heard of the DISGAEA series. It's amassed a cult following over numerous entries and keep coming back for more. DISGAEA RPG brings the franchise into the free-to-play space along with its trademark over-the-top battles. Most games cap Carter's progression at some reasonable level like 60, 99. DISGAEA doesn't do anything at merely a reasonable level, which is part of why fans love it so much. The level cap here is 9,999. If you're a long-time DISGAEA player, DISGAEA RPG is a must. If you're new to the series, it's a great place to start tossing enemies around the map and blowing them up with the world-shattering attacks. Either way, getting started won't cost you a penny. Free-to-play turn-based RPG Warhammer Quest has had a long journey, originally an adventure board game spin-off of the famous Warhammer fantasy battles. It was out of print for a long time before being resurrected in the franchise's new Age of Sigmar setting. The move to digital has broadened its reach, and Silver Tower provides the main game's tactical gameplay in less time. Not only can players do all the normal Warhammer quest activities of searching for treasure and smiting enemies, they can also try a daily quest, providing constant new challenges. It's a smart way to keep the game from getting stale after completing the main campaign. It's a great pick for Warhammer fans who don't have the time or patience to field massive armies of miniatures anymore, but still want to engage with the setting. Silver Tower also serves as a great entry point to the Age of Sigmar setting. As its name might suggest, Last Blossom role-playing tabletop-based scene is a deeply experimental title. It presents a single scene that could honestly appear in just about any fantasy RPG, but it's clearly meant to be in Dungeons & Dragons, complete with square grid-based combat. The player and one of their free playable characters will make decisions and the scene plays out, and in true tabletop fashion, dice rolls will determine the outcome. Part visual novel, part tactical RPG, Last Blossom is a reminder that you can't create something new without trying something new. Tiny Heroes 2 brings fun cartoony graphics to classic RPG battles. A wide variety of gears gives every loadout a unique look, so players will have plenty of ways to explore the different character designs available. Adding a crafting system to provide even more equipment options, and Tiny Heroes 2 provides endless builds for your adventuring party. Of course, there's also the combat to consider, like Earth of Enya. Tiny Heroes 2 boasts a simple control system for its tactical complex gameplay. Combos are encouraged, setting up enemies before knocking them down with mighty spells and attacks. Give it a download if you're looking for some exciting battles against animated foes. Let us know what you think about these 10 free-to-play turn-based RPGs in the comments below. And remember that this video exists in a written version on turnbasedlovers.com. Now it's time to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and also consider supporting us through our member program and Patreon page. Lots of perks and mystery box awaits you. Wish you the best, ciao!